top 10 of the most disturbing books ever written. I thought, hey, we have over 40 titles on this channel already. Why not rank them? This seems like a popular thing to do. A fair warning, this is going to be my personal top 10. I'm very biased. This is just my opinion. And this is going to include the books I read and mentioned on this channel up until now. Welcome. This is Check That Book, a special place where we get acquainted with arguably the most disturbing books ever written. And, well, as you might have guessed from the title, without further ado, let's just begin. Kicking it off with number 10 is Lucinda Berry's Appetite for Innocence. An obsessed maniac who preys on innocent girls, and by innocent I mean virgins, and the survival story of one of those victims. Very tragic, very touching, and very gruesome at some points. Not a light read. The link for my original introduction and a more thorough look into it will be in the description down below. As for all of the 10 books that I'll mention here. Jason Nicky's Rural Decay gets my number 9 spot. Another disturbing story with some interesting family dynamics, mainly between a father and a son, and how to raise a sadistic maniac, basically. That would be my punchline for this book. Yes, very, again, disturbing, psychological, not too deep. My number 8 would be Cows by Matthew Stokoe. I forgot to mention, now that I think of it and now that I look at my list, this one, so far we've spoken about some seriously good, even epic works that can be considered disturbing. We've spoken about some trashy splatterpunk books that are also, they deserve their place. But looking at this list, I dare say that my top 10 is not just entirely my opinion. I also picked the titles that they're synchronizing kind of with my opinion. That would be the correct wording, because these books are normally indeed considered disturbing. It is just going to be my personal ranking. Again, the titles that I've read and mentioned on this channel thus far. And Cows, well, we're slowly entering into this fantasy, disturbing fantasy, dare I say. It does scream fantasy a lot because, well, come on, I don't want to spoil it for you. Again, if this title, Cows, makes you think of something mundane and realistic, like a slaughterhouse worker, for example, and the life of people there, or the life of animals there, and the animal abuse, maybe, this is not the direction this book takes, and that's why I like it. Actually, it's not my favorite. It's disturbing as all fuck, but it's so low on the list because, yeah, you have to suspend your disbelief quite a bit. Also, why is it above Rural Decay and Appetite for Innocence to me? Why? Well, you might argue that both Rural Decay and Appetite for Innocence are more realistic. They could possibly happen in real world, whilst Cows is what it is, right? I am looking at the descriptiveness of the book, not just. Otherwise, this list would include based on true event stories, such as Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door. And it's not on the list. Although, to me, this is one of the most disturbing stories ever. But this is kind of this average disturbing list with the content that is graphic. That would be the right way to put it. So again, you can throw a brick at me, you can judge me, but I hope I made my point clear here. This list does not include some masterful epic works such as the Millennium Trilogy that I've spoken so dearly about, and I consider it a disturbing masterpiece. But again, it has a deeper point in it. I could make a list of truly good books, like some serious pieces of literature that aren't just disturbing for the sake of being disturbing, or something like that. I hope we all got this out of the way, right? So yes, I might be wrong with putting Cows and the next title above Appetite for Innocence and Rural Decay, but I hope I got my point across. I put this list together based on the way the book is written and how disturbing it made me feel. Otherwise, again, we would be stuck here just naming the books that are either autobiographies or based on true events, etc. It's not a fun list otherwise, and I'm trying to, switch things up a bit. Otherwise, it's going to be this list is going to be sad otherwise, and we don't really want that. Number 7 is Sam West's Djinn. Much like with the previous entry, Cows, this is, we are in the territory of fantasy world. But, again, like I've mentioned before, you just have to put this fantasy aspect aside for a sec and look at the disturbingness of the book, or, disgustingness, which this book definitely is. Djinn is a horrible piece of work. I love it, we're here for it, but just as a disturbing book. Nothing more, nothing less. And if you put away the supernatural, much like with Cows, then this is going to be a very depressing fucking story. And some people do live a life like that, both in Cows and Djinn, which is why they are higher up the list. P.C. Harrison III. Yes, I was choosing between Grandpappy and a 100% match for this one, but yes, my number 6 has to go to a 100% match, because if I have to choose between the two, I'm a bit tired of the fantasy and fantasy gore aspects. So yes, 100% match sounds more realistic, albeit very crazy, but who says things like this don't happen? The world is a sick and a sad and a fucked up place. Trust me, I know. I wrote a book called Misanthropically Inclined. I know what I'm talking about. Anyways, yes, a 100% match. A disturbing look into a daily life of a seriously fucked up individual who does messed up shit both to himself and to others. He works at a fast food joint, by the way, and he plays around with food that is being served to people. This book made me it made me nauseous. Disgusting. A job well done. Disturbing. Let's move on. We are halfway through the list, and Aaron Beauregard's The Slob is taking my number 5. When we speak of the... yes, I am currently reading The Son of the Slob, like I promised. We got the necessary amount of likes under that video, and this is all fucked up shit. You guys, I'm a woman obsessed with cleanliness enters the wrong house one day whilst selling vacuum cleaners, and she just enters the wrong house. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say about this one. A very wrong house. Shit goes down really quickly in this book. I love it. Not in that way. Don't call the police on me. We're here to discuss disturbing literature, and I love it in the sense of it being a perfect entry to this top 10 list. Why isn't it higher up? Well, we'll get there, but it is a good number 5 spot, solidly disturbing. Everything's there. You got some realism because, again, why not? You got your torture, you got your everything, mutilation, stuff being done with fetuses. Good stuff. I am so getting demonetized. Number 4 for me would be, so far, 120 Days of Sodom, or The School of Libertinage by Marquis de Sade. Why just number 4? I'm pretty sure that many were expecting this to be either number 2 or number 1, or at least in top 3, right? Well, let me try to explain. First of all, I found some other books that I've spoken about on this channel to be a bit more disturbing for me personally. I'll explain later as to why, because we are approaching our top 3. 120 Days of Sodom didn't quite get there into the top 3, mainly because, again, everything described in that manuscript, which I read it, and I quoted this crap on the channel, link in the description, you know the drill. It made me question, first of all, it made me question the sanity of the author. At the same time, well, shit like this definitely can be going down today, now, just in maybe a bit of a different format. And yes, true, people higher in power can be doing disgusting shit and not get punished for it. And that is outrageous and horrible and totally shouldn't be the case. But the world, like I mentioned, is a sick and a sad place. And I found 120 Days of Sodom quite difficult to read and digest. Maybe it's, the translation, or maybe it's the lengthiness of it, albeit I didn't quite find it to be that long. But it felt a bit draggish. Whilst 120 Days of Sodom is indeed disturbing, and I believe that the adaptation, which I've also talked about on this channel, the link will be in the description, managed to be even more disturbing than the manuscript. I've changed my mind on it, actually, whilst putting this list together, because, this is the case where the movie did a better job, actually. Yes, I had to rewatch this shit to form an opinion on it, and yes, I believe that maybe, just maybe, we need a remake of 120 Days of Sodom, or, its own retelling of generation. Like every 20 years or so, we need to make a movie based on de Sade's manuscript, because it's actual. Unfortunately, so it's actual. What does it teach us? Nothing. It's just disturbing, and it's there to remind you of the shit that was going down at certain periods of time. And until humanity learns its lesson, maybe we need movies like that. So yeah, thanks, de Sade, for your manuscript, but I'm not reading it again. Remember how in the beginning of the video I said that there won't be based on true events books on this list, or autobiographies, otherwise the list would be sad and it's going to be disturbing in a different sense. We need a separate list for it, because this is not entirely fiction. But some books fit perfectly into this top 10, even if they are autobiographies or semi-autobiographies, much like Jerzy Kosinski's The Painted Bird, which took my number 3 spot. Yes, this is supposedly a semi-autobiography, but the way its descriptiveness and the way it portrays a journey of a lad throughout this period of war and surrounded by by people who actually also suffer, even if they are antagonistic, like, for example, some, okay, let's call them German soldiers, otherwise I'm going to definitely get demonetized. Some German soldiers of that period who were not very nice. I'm trying to be as soft as possible, but one of them shows kindness to that lad, and that's actually a very, very strong portrayal of a human character, regardless of their race or political beliefs, or forced political beliefs. It doesn't matter. He's just human, and there was an act of kindness, and you go, wow, this hits home hard. This is really cool. I mean, Kosinski did a good job with this one, and again, we have a film adaptation, which is arguably, again, one of the most disturbing recent films ever made. Recent, should I say it's recent? That means past couple of decades, let's call it recent. It's just, unfortunately, much like with the 120 Days of Sodom, it's very actual. And again, until humanity learns its frickin' lesson, we need books like that and films like that. And if Kosinski claims it's partially based on true events, then again, why not? In my original video introducing this book, I said that I had to block myself out from it. I had to suspend my disbelief and be open to the style and the idea behind the book. But now that I think of it, looking at the world right now, why not? Maybe. But even leaving that aside, I mean, it is a work of fiction. So reading this one, it wasn't pleasant at all. War is never pleasant. Alright, my number 2 already. Much like with the previous one, I have to step back and say that this is actually the only autobiography on this list. For reasons, I decided I will include one. And I immediately knew which one it would be, because A Child Called It, Dave Pelzer. Why? Well, it has everything there. Not only is this true events, it's also extremely descriptive, graphic, sad, depressing, infuriating, and oh god, this just makes me want to write another book, but title it The World is Fucked. A Child Called It is an autobiography, like I said, by Mr. Pelzer, who survived his mother's atrocious acts and the upbringing she provided. I just don't want to go into it too deep. It's just an autobiography of a person who's been through so much and surprisingly came out of it alive and relatively okay. I mean, I read some of his interviews and God bless, he's okay, and it's a survival story, but it's so, again, it's sad, and it makes you realize that shit like this goes on in every other home. It can be going on. And A Child Called It is a heartbreaking story, but the good thing about it is that, well, the author survived to tell the tale. If there were downright sexual violence in this book, this would have been my number 1 pick. We started this channel with John Aythan's The Groomer, which I called a Serbian film of literature. If you haven't seen a Serbian film, or if you don't know what a Serbian film is, are you even a fan of the disturbing? Get out of here. My top pick, my number 1, is The Groomer. Coming back to it, approximately a year ago, I've spoken about this one. This was the first book on my channel, the first one I talked about, and it wasn't quite my introduction to the disturbing literature, but it was the first one that made me think for a few days, think solely about this book and its concept. I was digesting for several days. It was back in the old office, if you remember. I mean, the very first video is in the description. It was in my first office on Sicily when we were just beginning this entire Check That Book journey. It makes me feel nostalgic, but the video about it is coming out soon. Because yes. But why not, let's say, Lovesick? I've spoken about another book of Ethan's on this channel, and it was a close call, Lovesick, but if you have to choose between the two, no. The Groomer is, yes, it's 100% out there. To me, it still holds the spot as my number one most disturbing book for now. Not that it's the best of the ones I've mentioned, because come on, we've spoken about classics here on this channel, such as The Master and Margarita, Lolita. There's been a lot of titles. There's been Stephen King on this channel, and this one, no, it's not just splatpunk, it's not just horror, it's not just an autobiography, and autobiographies are, yes, they are the worst in this sense, because they are the most disturbing and sad, but I'm not going to speak about it again, otherwise this list would be comprised only of autobiographies. So this is a mixed up list. I hope I've done an okay job, but yeah, what's The Groomer about? Well, you could probably get it from the title if you haven't read The Groomer. It is about how our children get involved with the wrong people and the outcomes, the possible and unfortunately very frequent outcomes of such interactions on the internet mainly, and how fucked up the things can get. I remember in my first video, which was about The Groomer, I encouraged everyone to watch their freaking kids. They're your responsibility because they're your children, right? And yeah, sometimes we don't have enough time or we don't pay enough attention because we have our own lives, right? But being a parent it's such a responsibility. Your life is no longer your own. You have to be responsible. You just have to. This is your duty now. And sometimes, yeah, parents, but even the most responsible of parents can look over certain things. You can't watch your kid 24/7. Sometimes you are not physically able to be there for them. Sometimes the circumstances are such that you won't even notice something is wrong. Because sometimes all it takes is a couple of seconds, right? Such is life. And unfortunately, the ongoing theme of child predators is actual all over the world, specifically on the internet. And that is perhaps even the most difficult thing to monitor when it comes to your children. It's a descriptive book, has all sorts of disturbing shit imaginable. Children, little children, like very little children, cannibalism, sexual assault, and it all is peppered with grotesque violence, psychological the angst, revenge motif going on there, injustice, all of it is in there. It is a gripping read, and it makes you want to be on your guard. So it's it's a perfect entry and a perfect number one spot for me. Some honorable mentions from me would be A Clockwork Orange. We need to talk about Kevin and The Girl Next Door. I hope that was a fun little intervention because we mainly just talk about disturbing books or book versus movie on this channel. I hope for those of you who are interested or into poetry, you'll also follow my shorts because sometimes they're hopefully pretty. And also, I try my best to advertise this wee creation of mine that is called Misanthropically Inclined, a poetry collection with some hopefully interesting thoughts and ideas and maybe even inspirations for some. My book is available on Amazon, both digitally and physically. I do recommend the physical copy, though it does feel nice. A friendly reminder, this was my top 10 as of today. And today is February 25. Wow. Feel free to name your top 10 or top 3. Do not make it too long in the comment section, but feel free to shout out your most disturbing book or what makes you freaked out psychologically. The most fucked up books, write them down there. Maybe I haven't read them, so I'm yet to discover new sorts of disturbing. As to why people are into the disturbing, why do we have this community? Why do we talk about it? Why is it even necessary? I'm thinking about something. Maybe we guys will talk about this soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like disturbing content, consider giving this video a boost in the form of an erect thumb and make sure to subscribe for more. I shall see you all quite soon. Take good care, ladies and gentlemen, and goodbye.